Hello friends, I'm Priyesh Jha. You're watching Sahitya Niketan, and in these lecture series we are going through English pedagogy, and today's topic is English in India. But before we go to the topic, if you are not a subscriber of the channel, please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. Let's get started. Before we go in the detail of the English in India, let us see what is the condition of English throughout the world. Throughout the world, we take English, we read English, or we learn English on the three different levels. The first level is mother tongue. There are few countries where English is being taught, or English is spoken as a mother tongue, like England, America, Australia, Canada. These are the states, these are the country where English is spoken as mother tongue. On the other hand, we have English as a second language, like India, Pakistan, China, and so many Asian countries where few years before there was colony of Great Britain. These are the country where English is spoken or used as the second language. And then there we have the another third level, that is the English as a foreign language, like we have Japan, like we have Russia, and so many other nations where there was slight impact of British rule but not complete. So these are the states and countries where English is used as the foreign language. Now let us have a brief introduction of mother tongue, second tongue, and foreign language. Mother tongue are the nations where speakers are using English from their childhood, since their birth. So suppose like in Mithilanchal we learn Mathli since our birth. We speak Mathli since our childhood. In family we use the language, in our neighborhood we use the language. So this is the mother tongue. So Mathli, as Mathli is our mother tongue, English is the mother tongue in England, in America, and in so many other similar countries. They are called the native speakers of English. Then we have the second level, that is the English as a second language. Second language means their English is frequently it is being used on a wide level, it is being used, but they are not the native speakers. They are using it on as a associate language. Like in India we are the associatives of English. We speak English as associate language. Our native language, we have a lot of native languages, but constitutionally and widely Hindi is accepted as a the native language of India. Not the mother tongue I am telling you, but the widely accepted language. Then we have the foreign language. Now what is the foreign language? Because we are in a scenario where there is globalization. The whole world has been shrinked, and we are living in a globalization age. So we need a language so that we can communicate between one nation to another nation. So for this communication we have a few states, like we have France. We have in France the people French, they use French language. In Russia they use Russia they use Russia. In Japan they use Japanese. In China they use Chinese. But they are actually using English even, but they are using English for the foreign dealings, foreign affairs, like when they have the international trade, business, sports, for such dealings they use English. So this is the difference between English as mother tongue, second language, and foreign language. Now let us see the situation of English in India. But before we see the present situation of English in India, let us see the history of English in India, how the English was origined in India, how it came here. Of course, all of us, we know that English came by Englishmen, British government, or better you say the East India Company. But how it came in function. You must know Macaulay, Lord Macaulay. We read about Macaulay policy in our school, syllabus. So he is a very popular figure, popular persona in English education system. India is a nation where we have multilingual society, multicultural society, and in India we use more than 500 languages and dialects. But in such a situation, I'm talking about before 1835, there was no one language in India. There was Tamil, Telugu, Gujarati, then we had Punjabi, then we had Hindi, Sanskrit, Persian, Mathili, Bengali, Odia, and so many other languages was spoken. Urdu we had. So on a large scale, but I'm talking academically, Sanskrit, Hindi, Persian, Urdu, these were more accepted. Also Tamil was accepted. But and these languages were the medium of education in before 1835. But in 1835, Lord Macaulay brought a huge change in Indian education system. There was, at that time we had the East India Company in India, and Lord Macaulay was the man who introduced the English Education Act in the year 1835. And since then, education system was completely changed in India. And British government introduced designed English as the medium of education in schools and universities. But during over a period of century, English became very popular, and it became the icon. English language became the icon of elite group, and the speakers of English speakers at that time, when India was colony of British government, East India Company, or the East India Company was over by the year 1857. After that we had the Victorian government, we had the British government. So the English policy was introduced in East India Company, and I'm talking right now about the British government. So there was when we had even the independence war, those people who were involved in the war, they were also they were against the British rule, but they were using the language medium of their fight, medium of their independence war. They were using English itself. And there were a lot of newspaper magazines were published which were very popular at that time. They were in English, like we had Mahatma Gandhi used to print the Harijan. These all magazines were in English, and all those slogans were in English. So English was the icon of elite group. It was very popular among the people who were even in the education but even this was the situation before independence. Even after independence, the English continued in India, because as I told you that India had a lot of languages. So after independence, it was a big issue that how and which language should be selected. And when the Constitution of India was framed, in Constitution, in Article 343, Indian Constitution declared Hindi as the language of medium and education for Union government. Hindi became the national language. This is the article 343. But even after this article, Hindi was not used in all the states of India. There were only few states, basically North and East India, where Hindi was widely used. But in the states of South, Northeast, West, we had so many other languages in these states. So English became the second language or associate language in these states. Okay. And so in even by even after the constitutional provisions, English continued to being used in India as second language. Now let us see that how we right now we saw that how English is being used throughout the world. In India, what is the situation of English, how English was introduced, how Lord Macaulay changed the English education system, all these things we saw. And now we shall see that how English is important for Indian society and the other societies of world. But before that, let me tell you one important term which is being used by people in these days, that was the lingua franca. People take it as a word. What is the meaning of lingua franca? Let me tell you. Lingua franca means a language that can bridge between the two different languages. So suppose if I am a Hindi speaker and you are a Tamil speaker, neither I know Tamil nor you know Hindi. So in this situation, we can use another language. Suppose you know Sanskrit, I know Sanskrit as well. So we can use the Sanskrit as a mutual language, and this is called the lingua franca. And similarly, English can be used as a lingua franca between all these states in India and across the world. That's why English is important today. So this was the whole lecture today I wanted to tell you. But before I finish my lecture, I expect that you all must be well mentally and physically. And this is the time when we are at home, and so this is a very scary situation, and there are a lot of guys who are hopeless. So please don't be hopeless, and maintain your hope in this despair, and help the helpless to strengthen yourself. Give food to those people who need food. So these are the things. It is not the words of consolation, but it is the words of practical. With these words I end my lecture. Thank you. Have a great day.